screw you, YouTube. Screw you. That's what I want to say there. Hey, for those of you joining after the fact, we already did this for about 30 minutes, and then YouTube crapped out on me, and I got a message that said, error message, down for maintenance. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was refreshing, and all of a sudden, it popped up and everything was okay again. I'm like, it's like I can't get a break with my live stream sometimes. My apologies to those who were tuning in, listening. We're gonna do this. We're gonna keep going. I'm starting the show over. Because I'm like, fuck that. I don't want the, like, I hate having, like, messy, incomplete shit on my channel. I hate that stuff. The good thing is that we can do this again. And we can keep going. Hey, it's episode 41 of MCRAE Live. It's an all Friday Q&A. We're going to start again, and it just sort of ticks me off. And I don't know why that happened. And the video, when I went back to look at the live feed, it was like distorted and choppy. I had to get rid of it. My apologies for those of you that asked questions during that stream that want to be able to go back and look at those answers. The answers were sort of lost in the whatever the hell was going on, and I'm not entirely sure. I want to take this opportunity, and I will be as quick as I can here, because I think this is only fair for those of you that asked questions before. I know, and I forget... feel free to ask them again. And because I already know my answers to them, I will run through them as quickly as I can, because I want you guys to have an opportunity to be able to look at your answers back. And I think that's important. I know a question came, so feel free to do that. You can just at me, okay? You don't have to send in another super chat. If Intel Wild is watching, I know he sent in quite a few super chats, so I'm going to go back actually and look at those super chats and just kind of give some quick answers to that, because I think that's fair. I'm angry. I hate when YouTube does this. It's not always YouTube. Sometimes it is your, sometimes the power goes out. Sometimes there's something wrong with your internet connection. But in this case, it was YouTube. And I apparently, I don't know if it's the whole COVID-19 thing, but apparently other people I've talked to have been having issues with their streams as well. Even some of the bigger channels I have learned are having some issues as well. So I'm going to go back into my super chats here from the previous video and just kind of rip through these as quickly as possible while you guys think of some new questions to ask. Intel Wild says, Dave, I have to go into work right now, but I love listening and hearing my super chats read later. And you are again. I'm doing it again, buddy. I will continue to speak this into existence, but I want a new clean 78 mask in Halloween Kills and Ends. Well, like I said in the fucking thing, you're definitely going to get it. You're going to get it in the flashback sequence, I would imagine, at some point. Let me hang on. Let me just do this so I'm not 1 second here. I want to just bring this up so I'm not blowing my face out here with all the brightness from my screen. There we go. That's a bit better. I think that's a bit better. Yes, I think you're definitely going to get it. I think you are definitely going to get it. 1 second. We're on, right? Yep, we're on. We're still good. Yeah, everything's good. Everything's watching. Everybody's okay. Dave is my homeboy. Good. I'm like freaking out. Like whenever that happens, I get like my back up and I'm like, wait, are we out? Yeah, we're on. Like everything looks good. Everything looks good to me. And I keep going back to the YouTube, window to be like, is everything? Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. Let me see here. Yes, you're definitely going to get a clean 78 mask in the flashback sequence. Whether or not you're going to have him replace his old mask with a 78 clean one, I don't think is necessary. And, like I've said before on this channel, not just 15 minutes ago, something feels weird to me about Michael picking up a Michael Myers mask in the actual movie. It just kind of feels strange. It's almost like you're breaking the fourth wall. I mean, it's different when you watch a show like Stranger Things and the kid is wearing a Michael Myers mask. Well, Michael Myers and Halloween is fiction. It's a fictional movie in that universe. So it doesn't bother me. I mean, why wouldn't she or he be wearing a Michael Myers Myers mask. Somebody in a Michael Myers movie wearing a Michael Myers mask, other than Dr. Sartain, obviously we know why he put that on. But I mean, like purchasing one at a store or somehow having it seems a little strange to me. So not to say that they won't do that, but I would be okay with continuing on with the H18 mask. And I don't know, I do believe that there needs to be some sort of residual effects to the mask, not necessarily in some of the, to the degree that you see some of the Halloween fan films have done. But I do think there needs to be some sort of residual effects. Maybe there's a little bit of a burn mark here, and maybe one side of the mask is sort of a dark grayish black from smoke damage or something like that, but not overbearing. That would be kind of cool. That would be interesting. Let's see here. Intel Wild says also, what started with it, we started with it, and how great would it be to end with it? Imagine the H Kills poster with the actual mask. They got to do it right, though. I assume you mean the 1978 mask. And like I said before, I would be okay with that. I think it would be cool as long as it's done in a symbolic sort of, because, you know, it's clear that it's a work of art, right? It's clear that it's a work of art, and it's not being done in any sort of way that would necessarily confuse the audience into thinking that mask is absolutely in the movie in a dominant sort of prominent way, like he's wearing that mask or something. We know the mask, like I said, will probably be in the flashback, but you don't want to give the illusion that he's wearing that mask unless he is wearing that mask. But if he's not wearing that mask, you got to be kind of careful. But I would be okay with it in some sort of really cool, artistic, symbolic way. You know, like I said, maybe there's him, and then there's like a mirror image of him, like the shadow self, you know, and he's got the older mask on in the mirror image of him as his shadow self, you know, symbolizing the past, right? The suppression of that. I think that would be really cool, really cool. Matt Rayner says, "Hey Dave, hope you were doing well during this crazy time. If you can talk about it, I'm curious if you have seen any concept designs yet for your Freddy Krueger makeup." Well, like I said before fucking YouTube, I have not, but I do know what the makeup is going to be. I do know what the makeup's going to be, and I am really excited to have that on my face. I will be spending a lot of time with Nora Hewitt, Hollywood special effects makeup artist, and her team. So we'll be spending a lot of time, probably 4 or 5 hours every day, putting that thing on for, you know, the better part of a week. So I'm really excited about it, and I think it's going to be fun. Like I said, I do know what the makeup looks like, because when I was down there in Hollywood for the Voice Arts Awards in November of last year, I obviously went over to Nora Hewitt's house, had the face cast done, myself, Nora, Cecil, Vince. We were all hanging out in Nora's living room, talking shop, and I was privy to the information of what Cecil wants to do with the Freddy Krueger makeup. And it's makeup, folks. It's not a mask. It's not a latex mask. It's prosthetic makeup, like totally Robert Englund original series style. I mean, not that... in the process, I mean, in terms of the process. So I'm really excited, man. I do know what it's supposed to look like, and I have no doubt that Nora's probably working on it right now. Okay, and then Eddie Green says, "Hey Dave, stay safe and have a cup of Joe from Dunkin' for me. I'll make it a chocolate milk, buddy. Watched your preparing for Black Friday video yesterday, comedy gold." Yeah, I totally forgot about this. If you guys haven't seen my little preparing for Black Friday video, just YouTube Dave McCrae Black Friday and it'll come up. It was a few years ago, and it was just me in my car at the time. I mean, I have a car now, but I have a different car now. And I was preparing for Black Friday, and it's like I'm psyching myself up to go into the store. Do you know what I mean? It's just a satirical kind of funny thing, and I think you guys will get a really good kick out of it. I'm like screaming out my window and like ranting and raving like a fucking... Check it out. I think you'll think it's funny. Yes, and then I also want to say, I forget who asked the question. Those were the super chats from before. I forget who asked the question, but somebody did ask the question. My apologies. I forget who it was, but somebody was asking about the show Dexter, and whether or not I think that because Dexter knows right from wrong, whether he is in some sense more evil than Michael Myers. And I will say this, I think it's a good point. I think from a certain point of view, perhaps. But it's important that we don't apply or don't project and put a anti-hero sort of spin on the character of Michael Myers. We don't want to feel empathy for the character. He doesn't feel empathy. He doesn't feel sympathy, but we don't want to project a level of, or a certain type of feeling of he's this anti-hero character. Well, he doesn't know any better, the poor guy, the poor soul. He doesn't know any better. Aw. No. You don't want to do that. You don't want to feel empathy for him because he doesn't know any better, right? He's purely and simply evil. And I think that is important that we don't do that. But to your question, I think it's kind of an interesting question. I've never seen an episode of Dexter. I obviously have some ideas of what the show is about and what the character of Dexter all entails. And from a certain point of view, you could make that argument that he's more evil because he's making the conscious choice to murder, even though he's murdering technically bad people. Still, you're not supposed to do that. You know what I mean? And if he can do that to bad people, what's stopping him from doing it to good people? I don't know if that was a subtext to the show, but really at the end of the day, if he can go that far, you know what I mean? So, yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Good question. Again, I forget who asked it, but hopefully you were able to see it here in retrospect, I guess. Looking back, or looking forward on this show. Hopefully you were able to see it. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah, so I got through that pretty good. I think that was very good. Let's see here. TMB sends a super chat. Thank you, TMB. Says, now YouTube's failure is complete. Oh my God. I can feel your anger. Strike me down with all of your hatred and your journey towards the dark side. Dave, I know you're not into reading novels that much at all, but was there a book in high school English class you really enjoyed? Well, the funny thing about me and reading novels is you're right. I don't read books. I mean, I know how to read, obviously, but I've never read a novel cover to cover. I've never read a novel cover to cover. In English class, I would get like the Cliff Notes version of some of the novels I was reading. Although here in Canada, we call them Coles Notes because there was a bookstore here. I think maybe it was just a Canadian bookstore. I'm not sure. It was called Coles Books or Coles. Maybe it was just called Coles or something. And they had like your version of Cliff Notes there, but they were called Coles Notes. And they broke down, all sorts of novels, whether it was, Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet or To Kill a Mockingbird or whatever the case was. So I tended to do that. I read the Cliff Notes or Coles Notes versions of many of the books I was reading in English class. I will say this, if I was more into reading, I don't know why. I guess I just never, again, I could read. I guess I was just lazy. But if I was more into reading, I would probably say maybe To Kill a Mockingbird. That would have been I really enjoyed that story. I think that's a really good story. So that would be my answer to that. Even though technically I haven't read the book, I did read the Cliff Notes version of it, which technically isn't fair. That doesn't count, right? Jack Ellis sends a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, last night I was talking Halloween and my dad yelled in a Loomis voice, I shot him 6 times. Never been so proud. Thanks for the stream, Dave. That is amazing. So you were talking Halloween and your dad from the background, I shot him 6 times. That's amazing. I love it. Tell your dad he's awesome. Totally awesome. Let's see here. Lee Connor says, what if in the future reboot they went for a different look with Michael and used a different mask? If so, what type of mask, or how about a mask at all? Michael is a pale, expressionless face. Well, again, I mean, is it really Michael Myers then, right? I mean, is it, although to be fair, because the mask has changed so fucking much, I would say that he's not, the identity of Michael Myers is a pale white mask, but it can, they were different masks. So, I don't know. Let's read your question again here. What if in a future reboot, they went for a different look with Michael and used a different mask? If so, what type of mask, or how about no mask at all? Michael's a pale, expressionless face in the shadow. There's something about your question I really like. I do. I don't know if it would go over well with a lot of Halloween fans. But speaking objectively and removing my emotional attachment to that iconic look out the window, maybe. I mean, it might. It really is in the execution of the shape. Do you know what I mean? And if the shape is the enigma and the boogeyman that we know and love, and, you know, in the shadows, and, you know, maybe, I mean, because there's so much more. I mean, again, that Shatner mask is iconic. Maybe. I got to think on that. That's a good question, Lee. That's a good question. Let me think on that a bit more. I would say maybe. Although I will say this, and Darren Sands, if he's watching, he can correct me if I'm wrong, or anybody can. Well, actually, let me say, Darren, I don't know if you have read the novel for the original Halloween, but I know you're familiar with some of the things in it. For those of you that have read the original novel from 1979 to the movie Halloween, am I not mistaken, or am I mistaken, or is there not does Michael look completely different in that movie as an adult? He's not wearing the blank, pale, emotionless face mask, like that mask. It's completely different, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I remember when I found out about that years ago, I was like, oh, that's weird. Fuck, I don't like that, because we're so emotionally attached to what we know. And because the novel came out after the movie, it's hard to... It would be hard for me to get on board with that, because as I'm reading the book, I want to picture, you know, what I know from the movie, and the novel's telling me to picture something else. So I'm not really crazy on that, but the chat room can let me know whether that is true or not. They can let me know. They haven't let me know yet, but they can definitely let me know. I remember reading that years ago. And the book is very different. Listen, the book has some interesting concepts in it when we're talking about, you know, the Druids and Celtic rituals. And I mean, it's got some interesting concepts, but I don't consider the book canon to the original movie, because the movie came out before the book. The book was written that way to add context and to make the novelization version of something like that better. Literally translating verbatim the Halloween movie from 1978 into novel form doesn't translate very well. It's not that interesting. It's not that compelling. They needed to give Michael a backstory that was that was layered and a bit deeper to help make the novel version interesting. But that was never the intent when John Carpenter was writing the original script. All that shit that's not really what was going on there. It's what's going on in the novel version, but consider it like a what if scenario. So yeah, it's a very strange thing that the novel did. I understand why they did it, but there's a lot of strange things in there, including a kill that was never in the movie. So, but I believe he doesn't even look like the Michael Myers we know. Chris Holmes says movie to book was a bad idea. Jonathan Nichols says Wham did like a 45-minute video on the novel, but I can't remember what they said. I'll have to check out that video. Yeah, I get the impression that Darren Sands, oh, there he is. Darren says the novel spends quite a bit of time with Michael growing up in the sanitarium. Yes, I do know that, but is it not true that the look of Michael when he's an adult, like he doesn't have a white Shatner mask on. It's a different mask. I thought that was the case. Somebody Google that, because I thought that was the case. But anyway, maybe not. But interesting question. I think it's possible. I think it's possible it might work, but it's a very big risk. It's a very big risk because it's part of Michael's branding, right? So interesting. I want to think about that more and revel in the thoughts on that and see maybe if I can feel which way. Like I don't know which way I'm going yet. Let's see here. A couple of super chats came in. A couple of generous ones came in. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate that, man. Thank you for supporting the channel on that level. Frank Riker says, Dave sold Blum toilet paper, and he said Michael dies and ends, but is found by the kids from Stranger Things who bury him in Pet Cemetery. It turns him good, and he winds up operating a YMCA. I'm sure it'll be different tomorrow. Yes, I'm sure you're right. Frank, that's a movie I want to see, man. That is a movie I want to see. Michael Myers being buried in Pet Sematary only to be resurrected and opening up a YMCA. Yes! Listen, it can't get any better. It can't get any worse, I should say, than Halloween 5 or Halloween Resurrection. Somehow, maybe that's the sequel to Resurrection. He's killed off everybody. Everybody's dead. You know what? I'm just going to open a YMCA. I love it. Chris Baber sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Chris. He says, what's up, biatches? Thoughts on the original Amity horror, real or bullshit? I think it's, for the most part, bullshit. I do. I think there may have been some unusual and strange things that may have happened. But I think it's largely bullshit. I mean, even, is it George Lutz? I think that's his name. Even George and Kathy Lutz admit that the novelization version of their sequence of events is mostly true. That's true. They said that. Even the novelization version about their story, about the real story, the one that sold millions of copies around the world, said, yeah, well, most of it is true. And it's like, what do you mean most of it is true? Right? So, I mean, listen, did strange things happen? Maybe. But the owners who have the owners who have lived there for quite some time now, and the owners that moved in there after them, I don't think it's the same owners. I think it's changed ownerships at least a couple of times. But both owners who have lived in there have said nothing. There's nothing ever has happened here. There hasn't been anything weird, no ghosts, no spirits, nothing. Does that mean that George and Kathy Lutz didn't experience weird and unusual things? No, maybe they did. But do I believe that the walls were bleeding and the floorboards were moving? And no, I don't tend to buy that at all. Maybe they were going through a difficult time in their marriage. Maybe it was a stressful time in their lives. Some weird things were going on. And, you can read into things. It's a great ghost story. It's a great movie. It's a classic movie, 1979, I think, right? Great movie. Margot Kidder and Josh Brolin's dad. Why am I blanking on his name? Why am I blanking on Josh Brolin's dad's name? Anyway, his dad. Great movie, but I think it's probably largely bullshit. It's just a feeling, especially when you dive into it and you look for it, or you dive into it and you start to read sort of, counter arguments to it, which present some evidence to the contrary. And you're like, yeah. If it is true, the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's somewhere in the middle. Let's just put it that way. Darren Sands sends in a super chat. Well, thank you so much, Darren. Really appreciate that, man. I'm pretty sure Frank's spinning a yarn. Don't take him literally this time. What did Frank say? Oh, for sure. Yeah, no. I see what you did there. Darren. I see what you did there. Yes, definitely don't want to take him literally this time. Thanks, Darren. Really appreciate that. Todd Fayer sends in a super chat. Very generous one. Thank you so much, Todd. Really appreciate that, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, do you think this Halloween... let me try that again. Do you think that Halloween Kills will be pushed back in release date, that they can reshoot parts of the movie so it will be a better movie and not the shit show it will probably be? Well, let me break down your question. Do I think Halloween Kills will be pushed? Possibly. I've talked about this before. I dedicated a MCRAE Live to it. It's entirely possible that it could be. We have movies in the summer that are being pushed right now. If we get into the summer and we're relatively in the same position we are now in terms of COVID-19, then yes, I think the movie will be pushed. To where, to when, I don't know. But if we're in July and August and things are still kind of where we are, yeah, I think the movies are going to be pushed. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to get... I think that with a movie like Halloween Kills, any pickups they would need to do, any reshoots they would need to do, they're probably... Well, they're not doing it now. Were probably already planned, and they would just... Yeah, I mean, it would give them... Yeah, I mean, it would give them more time to do that, sure. But I don't think... Okay... what I'm trying to say is that it wouldn't be a scenario like this. It wouldn't be like, oh, we get to push our movie. Awesome. Hey, let's go out and reshoot some shit. It wouldn't be like that. I mean, they would already be locked and loaded and ready to go. Any reshoots that they would want to do or feel they need to do, they would know very early on in the post-production process. They would know, they probably already know. Like, they already know if there's any reshoots they want to do or they feel they need to do to tighten something up, to make something feel a little more fulfilled, or to add some context to something, or maybe there's some B-roll they need to get or something like that, you know. And B-rolls is you know, things like cutaways and establishing shots, or, you know, things like that. If there's anything they need to do in that regard, they would have already known that. And they might not be able to do it now because everything's shut down. And pushing the film might give them an opportunity to do that, yeah, but it wouldn't be, it's not like they're taking advantage of it, if you know what I mean. It's just like, oh, thank goodness we have that opportunity. But it's not like, hey, we have this time, why not do this? You know what I mean? I don't think it wouldn't be in that regard. It would already be planned and they're just waiting for the opportunity, hopefully, to do it. So yeah. That's my answer to that. That's my answer to that. Thank you for supporting the channel, buddy. Really appreciate that. Just had to go over your question, make sure that I was answering it correctly. Let's see here. Bryce Russo. Good afternoon from Boston. Boston. How's your car? I know that was bad. That was bad. I admit that was bad. It was a stereotype. I get it. You could say to me, how's it going up there in Canada, eh? I get it. Happy Friday. Hope you are remaining safe and healthy through this pandemic. And I hope you have a wonderful day and weekend. I always enjoy tuning into your videos. Bryce, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, man. I hope you are having a wonderful day as well. Stay safe, my man. Stay safe. Chris Holm says, Dave, Jason Blum revealed that a trailer's coming soon. When are you expecting it? Well, Chris, I talked about this on, was it a MCRAE Live, I think I did on this. It all depends on what he means by soon, okay? I don't think we should take him literally to mean, you know, like next week. You know what I mean? I mean, look, is it possible that we could get a trailer any moment now? Yes, but we don't even know if the movie's coming out in October. I still think the plan is to release that trailer towards the end of May. I think that was the plan the entire time. That lines up with the trailer release of the 2018 film. I think the original plan was to release the movie or the trailer playing before Candyman, and the original release date of Candyman was the beginning of June. I think that was the original plan. Candyman is a Universal distributed film. Halloween Kills is a Universal distributed film. I think that was the plan. That plan has likely changed because Candyman is now being pushed to September. Now, that doesn't mean that the Halloween Kills trailer won't play in front of Candyman, but I think some things have changed. And do I think they're going to release the trailer this month? No. Could I be wrong? Yeah, I could be. All of a sudden, there it is. Holy shit. Oh, okay. You know, and maybe it doesn't have a release date attached to it. You know, maybe it just says coming soon, or, you know, October, or this fall, or I don't know. But we don't even know if the movie's going to come out in October, and they know that. And that's why I think, you know what, they're probably thinking, you know, we were originally going to, and again, I'm speculating here, but I think this is at least an informed speculation. I think they were probably going to release the trailer sometime in May, end of May, you know, beginning of June. And I think that they're likely wanting to stick with that because by the end of May, they may have a good idea whether or not that October 16th release date could still be happening. They may know by the end of May, no pun intended, that they may know whether or not it's likely that it may have to be pushed. So I think they're, you know, again, when he says soon, it depends on your definition of soon. Soon could be next week. Soon can be end of May. I mean, it's still soon. It's still soon. It's still coming. He said that Because he's not going to say something like eventually. Yeah, don't worry, it's coming. No, he's going to say soon because it keeps the hype out there, right? He doesn't. It's what you say. It's political cinematic rhetoric, as I like to call it. It's just what you say. Soon. Yeah, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. It's looking good. It's looking good. And people are like, oh, it keeps the hype train there, right? But soon can be April 25th. Soon could be May 31st. I mean, it's still soon. Relatively speaking, because the movie's coming out. So, so those are my thoughts on that. I don't put really any stock into him saying soon because, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Of course it's coming soon. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, whatever, and if it does drop in April, well, then I was wrong, but I would be very surprised. Very surprised. Todd Fayer sends another generous super chat. Thank you so much, Todd. Really appreciate that, man. Hey, Dave, do you think they should make Field of Dreams? You mean, oh, sorry. You did say it. Remake Field of Dreams. Why? Why? I'm not sure, but it's like why, right? Like, why? Can you tell the story better? I mean, look, the production value is a bit dated. It's an older movie. You're watching an 80s movie, but the story is wonderful. And I don't think there's anything in the movie that I could see them telling a movie like Field of Dreams, inspired by Field of Dreams, about maybe another sport. Maybe it's not about baseball. Maybe it's about, soccer but not really. I mean, look, baseball was, baseball was not so much anymore. It's more football, but baseball was the American pastime. There's so much more going on there. Like, it made sense to write this kind of a story about baseball. You know what I mean? And how it brought families together and people together and children together and just the old, the legends of baseball, like your Babe Ruths, and it just was, I don't know if you can't really do that with, I'm just gonna say no. I'm just going to say no. I just don't see the need. I don't think you could tell the story better. That story better. I think it's fine. You could remake it. Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't see the need to remake Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams is a great movie though, isn't it? It's a great movie. Love that movie. Love that movie. 155 people watching. Awesome. Awesome. Hey, for those of you that, tuned in initially, my apologies. YouTube crapped out on me again. Fucking can't stand this. Everything stopped. My page said down for maintenance. And I'm like, down for maintenance? On YouTube, I'm refreshing, getting nothing. And then all of a sudden I refreshed again and I'm back. And I'm like, is this were they down for maintenance? Or was this some sort of server error or something? It didn't say a server error. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Pisses me off, man. Really pisses me off. So I just decided to start the show again. And if you're tuning in, if you're tuning in after the fact, I did read the super chats I got in the other show again, because I had to delete that other show because when I watched it, there were things that were glitchy and kind of, it was almost as if this was about that the show was doomed from the start. So I deleted that show, but I did re-answer the super chat questions at the beginning of this show, because that's only fair to you guys to have, my answers somewhere where you can go and access them. And so I wanted to do that. Let me see. Frank Reiger says, Dave, here you go from the novel about Michael's look. Thank you, buddy. Says, the man had dark red stained lips and his eyes were rimmed in purple like grossly overused eyeshadow. A livid scar zigzagged down his cheek. There you go. There you go. That's what Michael Myers looked like in the novel of Halloween. I'm going to make a social media post about that. That'll generate some buzz. I like that kind of stuff. Or maybe make a video about it. Nah, I'd have to read. I can't make a video about that because I don't have enough information. I'd have to have read the novel so I could have context to the look and everything like that. I would be grasping at straws to fill a standalone video on that. You know me, I like to talk. So maybe I'll just make a social media post. It's interesting. Interesting. Thank you, Frank. Really appreciate that, man. Yeah, see what I mean? That's you know, and I knew it was something like that because I remember thinking because I've seen the movie already, I'm going to be thinking, and now you're telling me to think of something different. And it's like, I can't think of something different. I just, what, and I don't even understand why they even did that. Like, I can understand why you wouldn't want to write that he had a William Shatner mask, but what's stopping you from writing he had a white, pale, emotionless, human-featured white mask? Why wouldn't you write that? I don't understand. I really don't understand the creative choice to do that. The novel, he wanted to make it, I mean, unless it's into the psychology of the character, that the information, the extra information that he is creating in the novel, right? In terms of the backstory and the psychology of this character, that maybe there's that sexual side to Michael that we know is true because we know that's actually in the novel. So I guess maybe he wanted to perpetuate sort of this unconscious sexual desire side to Michael with, you know, lipstick and eyeshadow and things like that. Of course, it's a different time, folks. Let's not forget that. I think that's probably why. Strange, isn't it? I bet you a lot of people didn't know that. I bet you a lot of people are watching going, what? Are you get the fuck out of here. They're saying things like this.
Oh, fuck you, man. Come on.
That's what they're saying. Like, are you serious? That's what he looks like in the novel? What? Crazy shit. I'm telling you, it's crazy shit. Let me see here. H.E. Pennypacker says, Sir Dave, the name H.E. Pennypacker, wealthy industrialist. Oh, let me go back here. Super chat came in and moved me up. Where'd you go, H.E. Pennypacker? There you are. Philanthropist and bicyclist looking to invest in fashion, but at the last minute decided to build roller coasters instead. I love it. I love it. H.E. Pennypacker. I love it. What is that from? That's the, that's the, tell me. I know this. I'm having a fart, but I know this. I'm having a fart. Having a brain fart. Never say having a fart, folks. Always put brain before that because people are going to be like, well, then go to the bathroom, you son of a bitch. Let me see here. Very generous super chat comes in from Smack This TV. I've never seen Smack This TV in this chat room before, but there you are. And you are supporting the channel in a very generous way, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, I've been enjoying your content. One of my favorites is the Masters of the Universe movie concept video. Thank you. Really appreciate that. And of course, your Halloween discussion videos. Anyway, what inspired Two Dudes and Some Bullshit? Well, first of all, let me say this. Thank you for even mentioning my Masters of the Universe concept idea video. If you guys are He-Man fans, if there are any He-Man fans in the chat room, just YouTube Dave McCrae Masters of the Universe concept or something like that. It's about an hour-long video, about maybe a year or so ago. No, maybe it was last summer, last spring, about a year or so ago, let's say, where I dive into my concept for a reboot of Masters of the Universe. Because I was and am a big He-Man fan. As a young boy growing up through the 1980s, I obviously was a big fan of the cartoon and the toys, and I had Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain, all that kind of stuff. I liked the 1987 Dolph Lundgren movie. Although, I mean, no, I can't say I liked it. I liked Frank Langella's Skeletor. I thought it was so good, but Dolph Lundgren as He-Man was garbage. He was the most uncharismatic He-Man I've ever seen in my life. Looked like He-Man, had the physique of He-Man. Terrible actor. Oh man, that was bad. That was rough. Yeah, but thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that was fun to talk about because, oh man, I would love, there's so much potential for a legit Masters of the Universe movie that's on like a level of like Star Wars. Like you watch it and you're like, wow. You know what I mean? Fuck, man, they got to get that, and they gotta get that going. Anyway, what inspired Two Dudes and Some Bullshit? Well, Tony and I, back in 2017, was making Halloween videos, uploading them on his YouTube channel. Kind of like what we all do, talking about Halloween, talking about the Halloween news and shit like that. And then he sort of, he was getting a lot of backlash and a lot of unnecessary drama that he just didn't want to be a part of. And he's like, fuck this, I'm doing this kind of shit for free for you guys. And he just didn't really want to deal. Again, he can elaborate more than I can, but that's sort of the ballpark. There was just a lot of shit going on that he just didn't want to deal with. Also, he's a very busy professional photographer, and his photography also began to sort of, he just didn't have the time, right? So those two things were kind of like, but I met him. I've never met Tony in person, but I met him for all intents and purposes through our love of Halloween. And he started to sort of not upload any videos anymore because of his photography career, which is great. He's a professional photographer in Atlanta, and he's shooting all sorts of shit. But he still loves talking movies and talking Halloween, all that kind of jazz. And we came up with the idea together. He came up with the title, Two Dudes and I think I said two dudes and two dudes, like two dudes. And Tony was the one that was like, and some bullshit. And I was like, I love it. Let's do it. And we decided to just do this kind of podcast that we do once a week that gives us the opportunity to, hang out, right? Kind of like friends hanging out and talking movies. And he was on board with it. And he was like, hey, listen, dude, if you want to handle it and take care of sort of the technical side and all that kind of stuff and run the show, I'm totally down, man. And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. So that's what inspired it. And we're now up to, I think, like 65 episodes or something like that, which is just amazing. So that is the answer to that question. Jacqueline McEwen is here. Great to see you, Jacqueline. Thank you so much. Says, I heard that the movie novelizations are usually written while the movie is in production and often based on an early script draft. So The Mask may not have been picked yet when the book was written. That is a very good point, Jacqueline. In this case, I am going to go out. I don't, in fairness, I don't know how the novelization of Halloween came to be. Halloween was a low-budget, independent muvi being produced by Irwin Yablans' being produced by Irwin Yablans and Mustafa Akkad. And it was a movie that cost $320,000 to make. It's not necessarily a movie that you are right, by the way, in what you're saying, but in regards to Halloween, I don't know if that was the case. This was a movie that nobody knew was going to be successful. This was a movie that wouldn't necessarily have had a novel rights locked to write a novel about this movie in place. I would have to read up on how that came to be. The novel wasn't released until 1979. So after the movie had come out. It wasn't in tandem with the movie or before the movie. You are right. That does happen. You are absolutely 100% correct. Whether that is what was going on with Halloween, I'm going to say no, because there was no earlier draft of the script of Halloween where everything you see in the novel version existed. This was made up. This was made up to fill context for the novel. So there was no early draft of Halloween where Michael was wearing, lipstick and eyeshadow and that kind of jazz. And there was all these scenes of him at, Smith's Grove Sanitarium and all that kind of jazz. It wasn't like that. So I don't think that the author of the book was taking anything from any early concepts of the original Halloween. I think this is more likely to take the basic premise of Halloween and fill in the gaps of this boy. Why is he this way? And then they dove into the why, had these scenes at Smith's Grove Sanitarium to make the novel more interesting, to give context to the novelization version of that. Because like I said, a literal translation from movie to book doesn't work very well. It's really not that interesting and probably not even that long of a book. Maybe 80 pages, 90 pages. I don't know how long the novelization of Halloween is, but that is my guess on that. But somebody would have to dive into how the novel came to be. But in principle, of what you're saying, you are right. That is how a lot of movie versions of, how a lot of novel versions of the movie are written. You are right, by the way. I don't know if that was the case with Halloween, though. Super chat comes in from Frank Riker. Thank you, Frank. Says, Dave, I have the novel and will send you some pics from pages where weird crap happened, different from the movie. Awesome. I don't have the novel. I'd love to get my hands on that novel because it's been out of print, as far as I know, since the 1980s, I think. I think it's been out of print for decades. So to have that, and if it's in relatively, good condition, that's something that, that's pretty cool to have. That's pretty cool to have. So yeah, do that, man. Do that. Tim F says, looking at the first page of my copy, very cool. A lot of people have it. Awesome. It says, based on the screenplay for John Carpenter, Deborah Hill, published 1979. Well, the novel was published in 1979. The screenplay, well, yes, and it would have been based on their screenplay. It absolutely would have been, for sure, because he's taken what is in the screenplay and he's adapting it for novel form. So it is right. It is based on it, right? I mean, it is based on a 6-year-old child who murders his sister, who's put away for 15 years, who comes back and murders everybody else. And it's on Halloween night. And, he probably gets shot at the end of the movie and there's a Dr. Loomis character. It absolutely is based on that. But that doesn't mean that there was a other draft of the screenplay where everything you see in the novel was in a version that Carpenter and Deborah Hill had written. Now, if Deborah Hill had gone back and written a version of the screenplay after the fact for the novel, that's just fucking weird, and both of them need to be slapped. Or at that time, obviously, rest in peace, Deborah Hill. But yeah, that's very strange to me. Very, very strange. I wouldn't believe that was the case. I think it is just meaning that it was based on the novel was published in 1979, and this was based on the screenplay that they had written. Is my thought on that. But somebody let me know differently if you have different information that can be objectively verified. Michaela Snow says, basically the writer read the script and put his own imagination to it. I think so. I think that's what happened. Jonathan Nichols says, Dave McCrae, you should definitely check out the video of Wham they did on the novel. They go really deep. I feel like I've read it myself. Cool. I will definitely have to check that out. Duke Fleet says, Dave, thoughts on Brian De Palma's Dress to Kill, Blowout, and Body Double? I don't think I've seen any of I know the movies you're talking about, but I haven't seen any of those movies. And I like Brian De Palma too. I don't think I've seen those. Oh, no, you know what? I've seen Dress to Kill. I like Dress to Kill. I really like Dress to Kill. Blowout and Body Double, I have not seen. I have to check that out. Corey Dean says, Dave, out of The Exorcist and The Shining, of course, both masterpieces in the genre, but which is the bigger masterpiece in all aspects, including cinematography? I'm going to say the measuring stick is going to be pop culture. I'm going to say that between The Exorcist and The Shining, the movie that I think is more digestible for people because it's not as layered would be The Exorcist. I think The Exorcist is more linear than The Shining, and I think it's easier to follow than The Shining. I think The Exorcist, people can digest The Exorcist better. Obviously, when it came out in 1973, it changed the face of at least religious, exorcism horror-themed movies. Not that there were many before that, but certainly its pop culture footprint on the world of horror and movies at that time is second to none. I mean, it was incredible. And The Shining, I don't necessarily think had that same footprint because The Shining is very different from the book. Look, The Shining is one of the greatest, psychological horror films ever created, period. But it is more of an acquired taste mostly because of Stanley Kubrick. It's very different from the book. Very different from the book. And Kubrick has added his own spin on many different things. And there's many different interpretations to the different psychological layers that Kubrick has implemented in The Shining. It's a fascinating movie. And Kubrick was one of those filmmakers, people sometimes think that you can overanalyze a Kubrick film. Yes, you can, but you really can't because he was so meticulous with every shot and every detail and everything being it. Like sometimes people think, well, that must be a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. That was intended. Kubrick was that kind of filmmaker. He was brilliant. And there's many different ways to interpret The Shining and the different psychological aspects of what's going on there. It's not quite as linear. It's a little more difficult to follow for the average person. The Exorcist is much easier to digest. So I think that when we talk about what would the average person say they like more, what would the average person say, that is more of that impact, they would probably go to The Exorcist. And they wouldn't necessarily be wrong. But The Shining, when you study The Shining and The Shining is the kind of movie that you can watch and discover different things about all the time. The Shining is the kind of movie that makes you wiser. Do you know what I mean? Like The Shining is it's like a, if you want to, I'm going, my mind is going a mile a minute. Let me just say that I would say that it would be The Exorcist. Because of the acquired taste of The Shining. But once you can get past the acquired taste of The Shining and you look at the genius that is that movie, then we have something to compare. But I don't think the average person would say that. Great question, though. Great question. Let's see here. Johnny T says, Dave, what did they call the mask in the 78 movie? Ben Tramer had one and Michael Myers stole it from the store. Maybe it's called the Boogeyman. So it was in existence and theoretically could be for 40 years, could be 40 years later. Oh, 100%. I'm not saying that the mask couldn't exist. I'm saying that that mask is so identified with the character of Michael Myers that there's something I'm not saying it would be called a Michael Myers mask in the movie, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there's something strange about it that I would think that it would be so identified with something horrific that it would be strange to find that mask in a store in Haddonfield. Well, maybe they didn't find it in Haddonfield. Maybe they brought it over. We can play that game, until the cows come home. But I've just always found that it would be strange that somebody has a Michael Myers mask in a Michael Myers movie. But you're right. It wouldn't necessarily be called a Michael Myers mask in the movie. It could be called the Boogeyman. It could be called just blank face, right? Totally. Yep. I absolutely agree with that. But I still just don't think I would go that way. I just don't think I would go that way. I wouldn't want to have any sort of, any sort of self-awareness to the Halloween movie. I just don't think it's necessary. Flashback, I understand. But seeing him get him, another mask and he puts on, I don't think you need to do that. I don't think you need to do that. I don't think, because let's not forget that all three films, according to, some sources, take place in one night. So you don't need to do that. All three films take place in one night, apparently. So you don't need to do it. Just have it as that mask that you have in the first movie. That's how I feel anyway. Super chat comes in from Joseph Charles. Thank you, Joseph. Really appreciate you supporting the channel like that, man. I've enjoyed your channel for years. Very cool. Thank you. I wanted to buy you a coffee. Well, thank you so much, Joseph. I really appreciate that. And thank you for supporting the channel, and thank you for watching for years. It's crazy how far this channel's come. It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, for those of you that may not know, I've said this many times, but I have had this channel since 2006. I could have been imagine if I started doing this in 2006. Can you imagine where we might be today? God, we might have 1 million subs by now. I doubt that, but maybe several 100,000. Crazy stuff, isn't it? Crazy stuff, isn't it? Really cool. I've had this channel since 2006, but it was just for uploading little Halloween videos that I was doing. And every now and then, like when The Force Awakens came out in 2015, I did upload some videos of me talking about The Force Awakens, talking about, Star Wars and all that kind of jazz. And then I stopped because it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I just needed to vent. And then in 2017, things changed. Thanks to my girlfriend. She was the one that said, I think you need to get out there and really talk Halloween. Like, you got all this interesting stuff that, you know, and that's essentially why I did it, was because I saw a void really in the Halloween space. And a lot of people were talking about great things, like really great things, and giving insight, and it was really cool. But everybody was sort of talking about kind of similar things. And I was like, no one's talking about this. I kind of want to talk about this. So that's what I did, and the rest is history. Very cool stuff. Darren Sand says, there's a great doc on Kubrick's loyal assistant. Oh, yes. Leon Vitelli, am I saying that right? Vitelli, I know the one you're talking about. The doc is called Film Worker. Yes, I haven't seen it. It's pretty fucked up. Kubrick was more intense than we give him credit for. Oh, he was a fucking dick. Stanley Kubrick was, and you know the old saying, right? That like there's a fine line between insanity and being a genius. Kubrick was, and when I say he was a dick, I don't mean to say that he was somebody that intentionally would want to, make you feel bad. But Darren knows but you know what I'm saying? It's like, he was a dick. He knew exactly what he wanted. He wasn't going to settle for anything less. You know, he pushed you. Just watch the behind the scenes of The Shining and how much he was pushing Shelley Duvall. You know what I mean? He was a bit of a dick. He was a genius. He was an absolute filmmaking genius, but he was a dick. And he knew what he wanted, and he wasn't going to settle for anything less. And he was at times very difficult to work with. And I know the documentary you're talking about, but I have not seen it. He was a very intense individual, very intense. And sometimes people who are really intense can get very much lost in their own world, and they know what they want, they know how they want it, they know how it's supposed to be, and they're not going to settle for anything less, and they can come off as very dickish. And but he, make no mistake, he was a genius, and his work speaks for itself. And the reason why his work is the way it is, and it is as revered as it is because he pushed and pushed and pushed. He have pushed to the degrees that he did? You know, should he have pushed to the degrees that he did? Maybe not. Should he have not been as dickish to some people as he was? Yeah, maybe. But man, was he intense. Very intense. Thank you for bringing up that documentary, Darren. Film Worker. I've yet to see it, but I want to see it. I definitely want to see it. Let's see. Mr. J talking to Rakia Fleming. Great to see you guys talking amongst each other. Galford's dog says, Dave, with your tendency to analyze the inner thoughts of film characters and the context of their actions, well, it's not like I do that all the time, but I know what you're saying. I'm surprised you're not into writing fiction. Sometimes you sound like a lit professor. That's funny. You know, it's just, I don't know why. I first of all, let me say my hat goes off to any novelist and any screenwriter. Writing is very difficult. Ask John Carpenter. John Carpenter has said on many occasions, oh, fuck, I hate writing. I hate writing. And it's not that he doesn't like the creative process of writing. It's just, it's a very tedious and monotonous and difficult thing to create and write characters. There are some people that are built for it. There are some people that are built for other things. I think my strength lies in, you know, I'm a performer, like I'm an actor, right? And my strength lies in hosting, you know, like hosting a show or, you know, doing an interview, facilitating, being a game show host, maybe, you know what I mean? Being an actor, you know, performing, being in front of the camera, being behind the camera, doing voiceover work, right? That is definitely my strength. But I went to film school. I definitely have an interest in the production side and a passion for creating and making movies, and there's a creative bone in my body as well, and for the production side of things. And definitely I like writing and I like directing and watching things come to be, and It's Me, Billy will be the first movie that I've ever done on the level that we're doing it. So I often say to people, don't think of my Halloween fan films as what It's Me, Billy is going to be. My Halloween fan films were things I was doing on my own to just fill the creative void and have some fun, with friends and family and things like that. But It's Me, Billy is a professional independent production, and I am just so encompassed. I'm so enthralled, I should say, into the process, and because I'm accessing and utilizing the resources that I have, right? Being able to work in the industry here in Toronto, and it's just been so much fun. And it has been fun writing It's Me, Billy. I've had a lot of fun, but I've also written it with Bruce. We've co-written it, we're co-producing it, we're co-directing it, and but it's tedious. So I think that the writing fiction for me is, it doesn't lend itself to my character. I think I would be better suited to, I can write my own stuff, but I tend to, how do I want to say this? I think my strength lies in the creating the visual medium, not necessarily the written word. It's not that I can't do it. I can do it technically, but I think it's just the interest level's just not there. I much prefer, maybe directing somebody else's screenplay, you know what I mean? Or somebody else's script, or talking about it, I think that's sort of where my strength lies. Everybody's got their strengths, right? That's why there are a lot of writers out there that are very introverted, and, they're not as extroverted as me. They're not as charismatic as I am, right? They're not as outgoing, or, a lot of writers tend to be a little more, introverted, and, because that's their strength, right? They utilize their strength. You wouldn't ask them to host a show, they'd be like, oh my God, you know what I mean? So it's, everybody's got their strengths. Everybody has their weaknesses. And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a weak writer, but I would say that writing fiction and a novel or a screenplay wouldn't be my strength per se. But I have written a feature-length screenplay based on something that happened to be my second year of college. But again, that's fact. That's not fiction. And It's Me, Billy is fiction, but that doesn't really count. That's like I'm not creating it from scratch, right? I'm utilizing something, and I don't know. Maybe I don't give myself enough credit. Maybe I don't give myself enough credit, and I should tackle it more. But I think it's just there's a mental block of, oh my God, I got to sit down. I gotta write this thing. You know what I mean? But maybe I should do it. Maybe I should do it. Maybe I should do it more. Thank you for the question, man, or the more of the statement, I guess. Really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. Darren Sand says, my old boss worked on the distribution on Full Metal Jacket. Amazing. Kubrick would insist on knowing the box office by facts, of course, yes, down to the exact pence. Wow. If he didn't get the pence part, he would be on the phone. Fascinating. Fascinating. You see what I'm talking about? Intense. That is amazing. What a really cool, that's a really cool tidbit of information there. That is so cool. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I hear you, man. He was very intense. Let me see here. Great to see some people in the chat I haven't seen before. And again, if I don't get to your questions, it's never personal, right? It's never personal. There's a lot of people in the chat room, right? And I'm very thorough with my answers. Sometimes people think maybe I'm a little too thorough, and I need to move on. But I just love talking this shit with you guys, and I like being thorough. So yes, if I don't get to your questions, it's nothing personal. Of course, you guys know that by now. Joseph Charles says, Midsommar reminded me of The Wicker Man. Definitely. If you guys haven't seen The Wicker Man, the original with Christopher Lee, I think, check that out. It's a pretty cool movie and a lot of symbolism going on there. I liked Midsommar. I did. I didn't like it as much as Hereditary, but I liked it, although there were moments where I found myself struggling to believe in the choices that the characters were making. There was just a few moments where I didn't necessarily believe that these characters would make these choices. And so I was a little, okay. But the concept, I loved. And folks, although Midsommar is fiction, these types of cults exist. They do exist out there. They do. And sometimes they're disguised as things that don't feel like cults. You know what I mean? Like, but they are. Religious there's more cults. There's many different kinds of cults. When we think of a cult, we tend to think of a religious cult, which is what Midsommar was. But there's many different kinds of cults out there. It's really fascinating. Sometimes people wind up in a cult and they don't even realize it. Kind of creepy. Gary Rangel says, Jordan Peele's movies, I liked Us more than Get Out. Get Out was good as well. What do you think? Well, I've talked about this before, Gary. I actually am the opposite. I liked Get Out more than I did Us. And it's ironic in some ways because Get Out was... yeah, it's sort of, I was, when I started to watch Get Out, I don't know how or why, but I was unaware that there was sort of a racial, political kind of angle to it. It's not like it's on the nose like it is in Black Christmas 2019, but I was unaware that there was kind of this racial angle to it, and I was a little worried when I started watching it that it was going to get a little too preachy, you know, a little too sort of on the nose, and it didn't. It fell into the narrative beautifully, and I actually really liked Get Out a lot. I didn't particularly like I thought the alternate ending, I think, might have been a bit better, but I liked it. I did. Us, I was a little worried. Us, I thought I was going to like more, but I didn't. But the one thing I do like about Us, what am I trying to say here? Okay, let me back that up. Yeah, I thought I wasn't going to like Get Out because of that, but I did. And then I thought I was going to like Us because, right, okay. So I thought I wasn't going to like Get Out, or I was going to be like, because I thought, oh, are they going to, you know, and they didn't. I was like, oh, cool. Okay, good. I really like this movie. Awesome. And then I thought I was going to like Us, and I didn't, because the one thing I liked about Us was, you know, it was an all black cast in terms of the main characters. And I was worried that there was going to be sort of this angle to it, you know, look at me, I'm black, right? Because we know in the world we live in now, obviously we want to create more opportunities for people of race and color and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. I understand it. It's about creating the opportunities. I'm a full believer in creating the opportunities, equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. Totally for that. And I love the fact that Us could happen to anybody, right? Yes, the main cast is black, but it can be but it's not the central focus. Who cares if them being black is irrelevant to the movie? I love that. Love that. That's awesome, right? Because it could be happening to anybody. These characters just happen to this black family, right? I love that. But I didn't like the movie as much. You know, there's moments I like, there's aspects I like, but overall, I wasn't really a big fan of the movie. I couldn't care less if I ever see it again. I mean, if it's on TV, I might sit and watch it. I don't hate the movie. I don't not like Us. It was okay, but I actually like Get Out better. So it was kind of funny. Like my expectations were, my expectations were reversed, essentially, is what I've been trying to say the last 5 minutes here. Cool stuff. But yeah, man, it's so great to see. Like, I really like seeing, you know, different race and different ethnicities and different colors and, whether you're black or white or Asian or, whatever the case is, right? Different colors. But you know what I'm talking about, right? And I like seeing that because it shows that there is it shows that we are in a, giving people, talented individuals of different races and different ethnicities and different backgrounds, the opportunities, right? Give these talented individuals the same opportunities. Is Lupita Nyong'o not gorgeous? Oh my God. She is stunning and incredibly talented. She's not just beautiful. She's incredibly talented. You know what I mean? She was great in Us. She was great in Us. Just wasn't a big fan of the movie. Kind of sucks. David Ferguson says, Dave, with all these brilliant AMAs, thank you very much. Do you think you could be coming the real cult? Do you think we could be coming the real cult of the cult of MCRAE? Maybe. You never know. You never know, folks. You never know. Jurassic Production says, hey, Dave, if we need advice on... in need of advice on my fan film so let me try that again. Hey Dave, in need of advice. My fan film takes a few ideas from your sequel concept, but I don't want to take credit for them. How would films deal with that credit wise, and what should I do? Well, you can't copyright an idea, but if your idea closely resembles somebody else's, in terms of like if somebody else's, like for example, I have an idea. Okay, my idea is this water bottle comes to life, and I tell you that this water bottle comes to life and sprouts arms and goes but it was just an idea. It was just my idea. You take that and you run with it. But if you haven't put your idea down to paper or to, on paper, you haven't written a script and register it with the WGA, or you haven't made a little short film of your own where, then you don't have a leg to stand on. You can't copyright an idea. I took your idea and I ran with it and there it is. How are you going to prove that you told me that one time? How am I going to prove that I told you that? I'm suing you for what? Well, one time in May of 1995, I told you that but is there proof of that? There's no proof of it. You can't copyright an idea in and of itself. But if there is evidence of it, like you have a little short film or you did that and whether that's a different story, of course. Then we might be able to kind of, you might have a leg to stand on. But how would you, that isn't something usually that filmmakers run into. I would say that if you want to just give me credit in the credits, just say, some events inspired by, Dave MCRAE's sequel concept video or something like that. You could just say that. If you want to do that. But at the end of the day, man, you don't have to. You don't have to. I mean, I'm not emotionally attached to it. You know what I mean? But if you want to do that because you're like, no, that's the right thing to do, I want to do that, then just put that kind of thing in the credits. I would just do that. But at the Hollywood level, no, you don't usually run into that. You don't usually, it's not because it becomes a he said, she said, right? Like at some dinner party, I happen to tell you an idea for something, but I don't have it written down anywhere. I don't have it, filmed anywhere. It's just an idea in my brain and you go and do it. It becomes a he said, she said thing, and there's no way to really prove that, unless there's, you know what I mean? So it's, you can't copyright an idea. There's reasons for that. But yeah, I would just put just do that in the credits, whatever, man. I appreciate that. Thanks. Really cool stuff. Jacqueline McEwen says, some movies give different credits as story by and script by. I'm guessing the story credit refers to just the idea, not the actual script. Yes, a story is the fundamental foundation, right? Like we could come up with a story idea, and the sequence of events, of course. So the story is about this guy who wakes up in the morning and he sees his bottle of water. He takes a sip and all of a sudden he transforms into a green goblin, and he starts wreaking havoc on a neighborhood. Like, we're coming up with this story idea, but to put that into script form is a whole different talent, a whole different medium. To write the sequence of events, the characters, the development, all that kind of jazz. So yeah, story and script are different, very different from each other. So that's why you will often see the two credits. I've just given you a layman's sort of Cliff Notes version of the difference. But if you want to know the real sort of precise differences, of course, you can Google that. But they are different. They are different. Screenplay by and story by are different. Jerpin says, Dave, you should add "but Dave" to your soundboard. My God, you are correct, Jerpin. You are absolutely correct. I am totally oh my God, why did I think of that? You're totally bang on, man. You're totally. Yes, I'm gonna do that. I'm totally gonna do that. But Dave. Folsom Proctor says, hey Dave, production question. When a director takes a film to an editor, is it usually one editor or more of a team of editors? Does the editor work on both sound and video, or is that separate? No, the editor will just work on... let me back up. When a director takes a film to an editor, is it usually one editor? Yes. Yeah, it can be. I mean, it may be two editors, maybe, but it wouldn't be like 6 people in a room all editing, because then you have 6, you got too many cooks in the kitchen, right? So it's usually, I would say, one editor, maybe 2, but one editor, and I lost your question there. Where is it? There we go. And does the editor work on both sound and video, or is it just separate? Well, I mean, again, it depends on your like. I assume you mean at the Hollywood level, right? No, it would be just the video. It would be just the picture lock. So there might be, the video editor or the film editor. There might be a guide track in there somewhere that they may add to give some context to something, but they are not designing the sound for the film. That is the sound designer that does that. And so the editor, the film editor, is cutting the picture. And it's called cutting the picture because years ago, you would literally cut the film. You would do that. When I was in college, I would edit my 16 millimeter films on a Steinbeck or a Steenbeck, Stein or Steen, one of the two, which is that it's you take the film reels and you put them on the spools or the whatever they're called there, right? And you would put the film through the thing and you would do this. It's like putting a reel to reel together, and you would turn it on and you would watch it on a screen, and then you would literally cut the film and then tape it. You would tape it together with Scotch tape. You would do that. Do you know years ago when you would go to the movie theater and you would watch a movie, and sometimes you would see it would last a second, and sometimes you would see what would look like a burn mark suddenly kind of pop up. It would kind of just go like this. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was where an edit was. That was where a cut was, a splice together. I learned that in film school, and I was like, wow, are you fucking serious? It's like, yeah, that's where that was. Very cool indeed. We would literally cut the film. Anyway, I digress. A film editor's job is to cut the film, of course, not really cutting it anymore, assemble the film together, assembling the scenes together, building what's known as the picture lock. And they do it scene by scene. They may have the director come in, depending on how much influence and sway the director has on the project. The director would come in and overlook certain scenes. They don't edit the whole movie and then go, here's what hey, what do you think? No, they're taking it in stages, right? And working very closely with the director of the movie, who would come in, add some input, see what they think. You know what I mean? That's why the working relationship with the editor afterwards is really important. So no, but the sound of the movie, the sound effects and the mixing and the mastering and all that shit, that's all your sound designer. Let me see here. We'll go a little bit longer because obviously we'll take this thing to, we'll take it to, I've been going an hour and 18 minutes now. We'll go another 12 minutes, take it to 90 minutes because I've actually been going a lot longer, but of course, the fucking YouTube crapped out on me, you son of a damn bitch. Son of a damn bitch. Let me see here. Did I miss a super chat? Did I? I did. There was a couple of super chats I missed that they did. Did they not come in? Let me see. There. Oh, wait a minute. No, there they are. There they are. I see them. I see them. Yep. No, they are in the chat. They are in the chat. Thank you so much. I can always count on you guys to say, hey, Dave, you missed something. You missed something. That's what I love about you guys, always keeping me on my toes. You're right. I did miss a couple of super chats that came in there. See, I was so locked into what I was talking about that I didn't see the comment. PC Pierce says, what's the most evil thing you've ever seen? The most evil thing I've ever seen. You want the honest to God truth? Obviously, you want the truth. Well, I would say back in the day, back when I was in my mid-20s, shortly after the events of 9/11, I would say that, again, the internet and watching videos online were pretty, it was pretty still in the early stages of that, right? There was no YouTube. There was no, social media. There were no smartphones. It was nothing like that. So there were certain websites that you would go to and watch crazy fucked up videos or something like that. And I remember one time, this is probably about 2003, maybe 2002 or 3. Somebody I was at a party, and somebody I knew was bringing people into this room and watching something. I was like, what the fuck are you guys watching? And they were watching an actual beheading video. And when I walked in, I was like, I walked in, you can imagine, at the most awful moment in that video. And that I was like, what the, it was like, whoa, and it was like insane. And so, yeah, it's not something I seeked out. I just happened to stumble upon it because I was at this party and they were all kind of, I was like, oh, check this out. You're in your early 20s, that kind of fucking shit, right? It's like, Jesus. So that's the honest to God truth. There you go. Most evil thing right there, folks. Rakia. Am I saying that right? Rakia Fleming. Hey, Dave. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. What do you think about them making another Final Destination? And would you like to see a remake of the People Under the Stairs movie? I didn't even know they were making another Final Destination. You know what? Like, really, I want to say let it rest, but it's a series that it's kind of like, it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's kind of a little spoofy, it's kind of and it's the kind of series that could go on and on and on, because you can think of a trillion, I was gonna say 1,000. No, really, you can think of a trillion different ways of killing people, in weird and unusual and like, whoa, oh shit. You can think of so many different ways to do that. And it kind of becomes a little spoofy, right? It kind of becomes like, like, what sort of sensational death sequence can we do now? Like, they're always like, each movie's kind of like trying to top each other. You know what I mean? And what started out as kind of like the first film was kind of like, wow, it's kind of become kind of like, kind of just fun. You watch those movies for just the fun of the deaths, right? So yeah, whatever, knock themselves out, whatever. I think I've only seen the first 2 actually, but I'm aware of the films. And would you like to see a remake of The People Under the Stairs? Well, The People Under the Stairs, if you guys have not seen The People Under the Stairs, 91, 92, somewhere around there, it is a Wes Craven film. Watch that movie. It is a fun, creepy, eerie film. Watch that movie, The People Under the Stairs. Would I like to see a remake of that? That's a movie that I think you could remake and make it, because there's a Wes Craven's version. There's a very B-movie vibe to it. There's a very sort of satirical vibe to it, especially with the people that live in the house, right? The brother and sister. I think they're brother and sister, right? They're not husband and wife. I think they're brother and sister. They have some kind of weird relationship. But anyway, there's a vibe to it, a cheeky kind of vibe to the movie. I think it would be cool to remake The People Under the Stairs, but make a serious movie, like a serious horror film. Ooh, that might be interesting. Totally down. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Sun L says, your crazy fan voice is gold. Oh my God. I do. It's yeah, well, but Dave, he didn't have his. It's the sweaty fan. And you know what? Like, early on, when I began doing that, like a couple of years ago, I would get people in the chat room being like, oh, fucking. And I'm just like, dude, I'm kind of making fun of myself too. Like there's a lot of things in the world of pop culture that I sweat over as well, that I get really like, oh, I mean, come on, it's all fun and games, folks. It's all fun and games. Frank Riker says, Dave, I think you should do a top 5 Loomis speeches. That's a cool idea. You know what, Frank? I might take you up on that, man. Thank you for support. Thank you for the support, by the way, to the channel. You know what? I might do that because there's some, I think we already know what number 1's going to be, but it's fun to watch. It's fun to do these videos. It's fun to watch these videos anyway. You know what? I might do that, Frank. I might do that. Darren Sand says he was a complete sociopath. Who are we talking about here? Are we talking about Kubrick? Are we talking about Kubrick? I don't know. I just saw that and I'm like, I don't know the context. Oh my goodness. Let me scroll down here. Oh, scroll. Great to see still everybody here. 151 people watching on this Friday. Q&A. I was going to say AMA, but I said I made the thumbnail as a Q&A. 1:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Where are you guys in the world? I am in Toronto. Richard Benson? Am I saying that right? The Y is kind of throwing me off. Maybe it's said in a slightly different way. Hi, Dave. Thoughts on the Event Horizon series in development. And I think Halloween Kills will have a big surprise ending. Maybe Michael dies. I don't think Michael's going to die in Halloween Kills. I think it's pretty safe to say that that's probably not going to happen. Event Horizon series in development. I didn't know that. There's a series. The movie's really cool. I didn't know there was a series in development. Thank you for letting me know that. I'm going to have to check that out. Thanks, man. Really appreciate that. Mike Johnson says, Dave, what would you truly like to see differently in Halloween Kills that maybe wasn't in H18? Well, just more of Michael's MO. More stalking, more lurking. I would like to see a really good chase scene that is in the realm of what Michael does, have that iconic Halloween score, and I don't mean the theme. I mean the shape stocks or the shape stocks, or the shape hunts Allison, or like boom, get that in there but show a chase sequence. It was that was so, it's a great theme that was such a missed opportunity in that movie. It was so, we see her run, he's beginning to walk, but it ends as quickly as it began. Like I always said, what happened to the idea of having her running down the street and Michael following her, and he's, we see him going into the light and out of the light and into the light and out of the light because he's going in and he's going in and out of the light from the lampposts, right? So, you have a lamppost here and we see him and then he goes into the darkness. Maybe some leaves go by him and we just see his silhouette because now that lamppost is behind him, right? So you have a lamppost here and he walks into the light. We see him for a brief moment. And then as he steps out of the light, the lamppost is now behind him. So what is he? He's encased in silhouette. You know what I mean? How cool would that be? And then he's walking and then we begin to see him again. And then, we repeat it, right? You know what I mean? So it's like he's walking, he comes into the light, comes out of the light, he's in silhouette, and then he begins to become into the light, right? He becomes into the light, right? And then we just kind of see that keep going into the light, out of the light, into the light, out of the light, silhouette, non-silhouette, silhouette, non-silhouette, boom, however it goes, right? Help me, boom, like fuck, where was that? Where was that? That's what I'd like to see more of. More of the lurking and the stalking and the more of what he does. More of what he does. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. Let me see here. A couple super chats did come in. Billy Van, hey, new patron, Billy Van. How you doing, Billy? I always do that when I see your thumbnail, or your avatar, I should say. Supporting the channel. Thank you, buddy. By the way, Dave, you missed Son L's $25 and my super chat, buddy. Apologize for the spam. I did get a $25 super chat. Did I miss it? Whoa, let's see here. That's a super chat you definitely don't want to miss, folks. Let me go back. Let me refresh this. It's entirely possible. YouTube has been fucking weird lately. It's crapped me out of my streams, telling me that, there's an error or that they're down for maintenance. And now and I've been having this problem for a while. Some super chats, they always go into where they're supposed to go, into my into the super chat sort of folder on my channel that I can access, but sometimes they don't show up in the fucking chat room. At least I don't see them. Maybe, well, you're obviously seeing them because you're letting me know I'm missing something, but I'm not seeing them. Anyways, let me go back here. $25 super chat. I don't see it from L. I see Smack This TV. Smack This TV sent in a $25 super chat. I see a $2 super chat from Son L, who said your crazy fan voice is your crazy fan voice is gold. But I don't see any $25 super chat from Son L. Let me go back. I'm going back. $20 super chat from Frank Riker. Todd Fair, $20. Todd Fair, $20. Again, you guys have been very generous today. It's just awesome. Yeah, I don't see it. Are you sure? I don't see a $25 super chat from Son L. I don't see that. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't see it. Cavern of Terror sends a super chat. Thank you, buddy. I'm amidst the casting my short film. He Knows Your Name. Ooh, I like that. I like that, buddy. I'm flooded with potential candidates. How do you narrow them down for It's Me, Billy? Well, I'm not quite sure what your process is for casting, whether you are, whether you're using your friends or family, or whether you're going more of the professional route, whether you're using talent agencies or online talent websites like Mandy.com, which is what we used for It's Me, Billy. We also reached out to a couple of agencies as well. The key is that you have to know your characters. Okay, so you should know. Okay, so for example, when we were casting here, let me bring this up. This is good here. Here we are. Here are the three main leads. These are the actors. These are the actresses that have landed the three main roles in It's Me, Billy. We have Victoria Miro, Shelby Handley, and Malika Henney. Hopefully I'm saying her last name right. And they are playing, of course, Sam, Emma, and Justine. And when we wanted to cast the role of Sam on the left, the far left, which is Victoria Miro, we wanted to make sure that Sam resembled Olivia Hussey, because she is playing the granddaughter of Jess from the original Black Christmas. So there was a certain level of, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that you need to know your characters. Like, you've written the script, you've written the characters, you know what they look like in your mind. So when you are casting, when you are going out or you put out an open casting call and you're being flooded with potential auditions, you then begin to break down based on level of experience, based on demo reels. If they have a reel, that's not necessarily showing them audition your movie, but you can see their acting and performing abilities. You can see how talented or not talented they are, how much experience they have or do not have. So a reel is really important. Because then you can, you're not necessarily wasting any time, right? You can really sort of break it down even further. So we sent out an open casting call on the professional casting sites. We received over 400 submissions. Wow, right? How do we break it down? Well, we go through and we look at people. Especially for Sam, we knew that Sam needed to have a Olivia Hussey sort of resemblance. So we went through and we broke it down of who sort of had that resemblance, and we put them in a folder for yes or maybe. Now, also, when we are putting out the casting call, we specifically said we are looking for a, white, Caucasian female, 20 to 25, brunette. We're looking for that, right? So hopefully that is who is applying. And then we look at the looks of the different women and we break it down into who has that vibe that we need, right? Because that is the creative vision for the project. It's not personal. That is what she needs to look like because she is the granddaughter of somebody who was in the original film. So continuity-wise, she needs to resemble, or the audience needs to believe that that is the granddaughter of Jess Bradford. So that was an important distinction for us when we were breaking it down. But that all comes back to knowing your characters, right? So we would put them in yes or maybe folders. Then we go to the yes or maybe folders and we start to narrow it down further. Who has reels, right? Who has, what did the resumes look like? Okay. And sometimes if an actor doesn't have a resume or a reel, but has that fucking look we need, we will send out a callback for them anyway, just to see what they can do. And sometimes we're surprised. We're like, oh my God, they are really good. Or sometimes we will ask, do you have a reel? Do you have anything that shows you acting or performing? But it really comes down to like, how do you narrow them down? It really comes down to knowing your characters, knowing what you want. We knew that Emma, right? If I bring this up again. So we know that what we wanted for Sam. We knew that Emma, which is going to be played by Shelby, we knew that she was the best friend of Sam. We knew that she was Caucasian, and we knew that she was blonde. Okay, so again, we send out a casting call for that. We look at the look of the actors submitting. Does this look like an Emma? Does she feel like an Emma? You know, we look through her headshots. Can we see? Are we feeling a vibe there? And then we look at the resume, and we look at the portfolio, and we look at the reel, and is she talented? And I can tell you right now, all three of these women are incredibly talented, very good. Their auditions were terrific. And then, of course, we knew that the character of Justine was a friend to Sam and Emma. We knew that Justine was black. So obviously in the breakdown, we are going to say that, you know, we want somebody who is black, who looks this age to that age, who has this level of experience, and yada, yada, yada. So it really is, that's the process of breaking it down. It just comes down to knowing what you want. And then if you get 100 submissions, you can't ask for 100 callbacks. Like, you can't call back 100 people. Well, I mean, if you're doing a Hollywood film that, you know, you're looking for like a Star Wars character, maybe. But on this level, we don't have time to go through 100 people. So we take we take the people that look, that resonate with us on a few different levels, reel, portfolio, look, you know, all that kind of jazz, put them in a maybe or yes folder, and then decipher it further there, and then send that as a callback and see what you get. And see what you get, you know, and see what, you know, what the auditions are like, you know, and we send them sides, which is a portion of the script. You don't ever send the full script, not up front, not right away. You send maybe a basic outline, plot description, and then you send something that describes their character, and then you send sides, and which is a scene or two that they audition. And these three ladies were fantastic. They were believable. I believed they were these characters. And so does that answer your question? I mean, I know I was going off on a tangent there, but I just wanted to sort of let you know that that's the process of what we were doing. That's the process that generally filmmakers go through. But again, it's we're going through it more of the professional side. I don't know what level your fan film is. But you're seeing, I'm being flooded with potential candidates. You know, yeah, it's essentially, if you're being flooded with potential candidates, you have to decipher, right? You can't pick everybody. You have to pick a select few based on whatever factors you're basing it on, reel, portfolio, look, vibe, feeling, you know, and then select 10 and call them back. Send a call back. You know what I mean? That's what you do. And if you still don't get what you want from that 10, well, then you do it again. You know, you keep doing it until you get what you want. Did that answer it? Because I know I was kind of going all over there, but I was trying to, it's hard to know sort of what level you're working at. Let me know. And if there's anything you want me to sort of touch on specifically from everything that I just talked about there, just at me and let me know. Let me see here. Nick Townsend says, Dave, your thoughts on Roger Corman films? I don't know. Roger Corman films. I know who you're talking about. Let me just make sure that let me just see. I want to make sure that I get the ones that he's done. I've seen Strip to Kill. I like that. I've seen The Terror. Oh, no, he was just a writer on The Terror, though. The Lady in Red, he was just a composer. I haven't seen that, though. I haven't seen a lot of his movies, to be honest with you. I have seen Strip to Kill, though. He was writer, director. He was. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I Yep, I've seen Strip to Kill. I haven't seen a lot of his movies, though, to be honest with you. So I can't really speak to him with any sort of depth or anything like that. Let me see. We'll go for a couple more minutes. Just a couple more minutes here. Piranha is a great Corman film. Is it? I'll have to check it out. I know it, but I haven't seen it. Robert Williams says, "Hey Dave, love your video about the Dr. Loomis speech, but question, do you think Michael recognized Laurie in the new Halloween, like when they saw each other in the window and mannequin room?" I think it's possible, but I think if he did, it was subconscious. There's something telling him. It's more of a feeling he gets of familiarity, but he can't intellectualize his thoughts, right? You can't reason with him. He's not making decisions based on, logic and things like that. He's a very impulsive, compulsive, instinctual predator. So I think he might, like the cat. No, it's familiar. There's something. There's a feeling he's getting, but he's not going, "Oh, I know that bitch. That's the girl." I don't think that's necessarily happening. If you know what I mean. But anyway, yeah. Oh, let me just hang on a sec here. I realize I have to get something in here that I did not have. There we go. Michael Meyer says, "Do you believe in the paranormal, like ghosts and demons?" I believe, yeah, I believe that there is something beyond this reality that we do not know. And I believe that there is enough evidence, enough circumstantial evidence that that something exists beyond this world, that the seed of consciousness may continue on. We don't die and then wake up and like, oh, hey, but the self-awareness, right? The being aware and that consciousness may continue. I'll just say that. I'll say it like that. Jeff Jenkins says, "Galaxy of Terror is amazing. Stars a very young Did Haig and Robert Englund." Did Haig? I think I know who you mean, but I don't think his name's Did. Galaxy of Terror. I'll have to check it out. I'm going to check out these films, guys. Really appreciate you saying that. Hopefully, Cavern of Terror. Message retracted. Hopefully, Cavern of Terror, I was able to fill it in. Yeah, again, just remember that if you're getting inundated, just think back to what you need, your vision, right? What your characters are, and then make that decision, start to decipher that way, right? Okay, well, this person needs to be this way. Okay, and what do we got? What do we got? Who lines up? Who do I want to send a call back to, right? Based on the factors that you need, right? Portfolio, look, vibe, feel, a reel. It's always great when you can have actors who have reels, because even though their reels would not showcase anything that you have sent to them yet, they are, seeing a portfolio, seeing a reel, seeing them in, like if you're doing a horror movie, right? And they have a clip from a horror movie on their reel, that's really important, because then you can see that actor in the environment and in the environment of a horror movie. And you can imagine this person as your character in your horror movie. So that's really important. If your movie is a drama and they've got some intense drama scenes, that's really important, right? But even if you're doing a horror movie and they don't have a horror movie in their portfolio or reel, that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be able to, do what you need them to do. Because then you look at their reel and maybe there isn't a horror movie in the reel, but they're really good. Like everything they're doing, there's a bit of comedy, there's a bit of drama, maybe there's some action, but you believe them. They're very good. And then you think, they have the look I want. They don't have a horror movie per se in their portfolio, but they have the look, they're really talented. So who's to say that they won't be able to then be just as talented in my movie and do what I need them to do? Do you know what I mean? So it's really all about believability when you are auditioning actors. I need to believe that they are that person. And with Victoria and Shelby and Malika, we believed them. That is a lot of talented people submitted. A lot of talented people did, but I believed in the creative choices they made in their auditions. You know what I mean? And Bruce and I, we just fully agreed that these are the ladies we want for It's Me, Billy. So yeah, just think of it like that, man. Just think of it like that. Oh, here we go. Cafeteria. Adam Craig, you helped a great deal. I had a vision, but the problem is a lot of the actresses are very, very good. The problem is they're very, very good. Our lead role has a lot of bites with very talented actresses. And I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So it's because everybody is so good. I see what you're saying. You know what, man? Sometimes you just have to, in that case, usually what's happening, okay, in a situation like that, there is somebody that you're leaning towards. When you really think about it and you close your eyes or you go have some lunch, there's usually somebody that you're leaning a little bit more towards, whether that's because of a look, whether that's because of a voice, whether that's because of maybe their stature, whether it's something in the performance that you just liked a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? Usually those things do happen. I can tell you that. I certainly can. It's happened with us. It's happened with us. So, search your feelings, take some time. There's no rush, right? There's no rush. Like when actors audition, in the open casting call that I put out, and I've done this in the past as well, I will always say that, we appreciate all who apply, but only those selected for an audition will be contacted. Only those selected for an audition will be contacted. And that's because we can't respond to 500 people, just saying, you know what I mean? And then we respond to the ones that we want to see an audition from. And then once they send us an audition, we then respond and say, thank you so much. We have received your audition. If we require anything further, we will be in touch. If they don't hear from us, that means we didn't choose them, right? I have auditioned for thousands of projects over the course of my career. Literally. Over the course of my career, I have auditioned for thousands of voiceover work. And I never hear back when I don't get it because it's irrelevant. I don't get it. The fact that you didn't hear back tells you didn't get it. It's not up to the casting director or the producer or the studio or the company to say that, hey, I just want to let you know that you didn't get it, because there's too many people that don't get it. They would be doing that for hundreds of people potentially. So, I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? They only contact those who they want to see again, and ultimately the person who gets it. So, yeah, that's what we do. And sometimes, yeah, there are people like when we were, look, was Sam the only one that was Victoria Miro the only one that was extremely talented? No, we got a lot of people auditioning for Sam that were very talented, but there was something about Victoria's performance, and I know what that something is, but I want to let you guys see it in the actual movie. And of course she had a specific look to her, but there were other, actresses that you could believe was the granddaughter of Jess Bradford, but there was something about Victoria that was just a little bit, and she was it was pulling us to her. It was pulling us to her. And usually there is something that's pulling you to somebody else or to somebody over somebody else. So just think of that. And there's no rush, right? There's no rush. Take your time, go over the auditions again, go over the portfolios again, go over the reels again, take another look, just kind of take your time. You know what I mean? But that's good that you got so many people who are talented. That's amazing. That's awesome, man. All right, couple more questions here. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Let's see. Cabinet Terror, I believe, was the last one for the channel. Dave, you choose the top 5 Loomis speeches. Yes, we are okay. All All right. Kenny _525 says, if we would have gotten the Jeepers Creepers 3 we were supposed to, that would have been amazing as well. Yeah, but it's directed by that guy who likes kiddie porn. So, I mean, it's unfortunately the Jeepers Creeper franchise, until it is taken away from him and maybe reinvented, and so it can have a different identity, it will always be plagued by that damn fucking director that likes to diddle kids. So, but look, he created a great character. That first Jeepers Creepers film was really good, but unfortunately it's got that little smudge mark on it. It's got that asterisk around it. And it's too bad at the end of the day. It is too bad. Nick says, I know you like Pacino with Scarface, especially, but have you ever, that was a noise. I'm not sure what that was. Have you ever seen him play Satan in The Devil's Advocate? If yes, thoughts? Oh yeah, of course. I saw that movie years ago. The Devil's Advocate. That's the one with Keanu Reeves, right? I was going to say with Johnny Depp, but that's not the one with, no. It's the one, it's the one with Keanu Reeves. Yeah, yes, I have seen it and I really like it. Very good movie. Haven't seen it in a long time though. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I'll have to check that out. I'm going to have to check that out. Tigerman says, Dave, when will you be watching The Warriors? I have no idea, man. I have no idea, but you'll be the first to know when I do, buddy. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me here on episode 41 of MCRAE Live. I want to thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the super chats that came in today. You guys were very generous today, helping support the channel in that way. And of course, I appreciate the non-super chat questions as well. We have built a really cool, and we're continuing to build a really cool community here, which is just awesome. And thank you to my moderators as well, Frank and Tabitha and Darren and Jason Nike. You guys are keeping the ship going here and keeping things in order, and you guys are amazing. I could really, at the end of the day, I don't think I could do the show as flawlessly and as fluidly and sort of like that. Like, things are just, it's like a well-oiled machine. You know what I mean? Without you guys. So thank the moderators, folks, because they keep things going and moving in a forward motion as well. You guys are amazing. Thank you to everybody for tuning in here on this episode. I really appreciate it. I will be back, if not with a standalone video, and there's always an opportunity of that, definitely on Monday night for episode, I think it's 65 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to tune into that. So, oh yeah, and it's Easter weekend. That's right, it's Easter weekend. If you are celebrating Easter, happy Weester. What the hell is a Weester? I don't know. It's kind of like anyway. Happy Easter. That's right. Stay safe. I hope the Easter Bunny is good to you. And I will talk to you guys soon. You guys are amazing. I love you guys. Alrighty. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.